Health or hype? I'm going to list a few drinks and you're going to respond.
Go for
It's
it.
got to be quick though.
Okay.
Prime.
Hype.
Coconut water.
Hype.
Huel.
Hype.
Vitamin water.
Oh, hype.
Collagen water.
Hype.
I'm glad you said that. Red Bull.
Hype. It depends what you're looking for, but okay, I'll go hype.
New tonic.
Yeah, I'll go health.
PRCK.
Health, 100%.
Okay, tell us, what is PRCK?
So PRKL is a brand new drink based on prickly pear cactus. Okay, so hence the words PRKL. You could refer to it as prick because you can prick your finger on the cactus. So yeah, prickly pear cactus. So the cactus itself, right? That it doesn't grow in Britain, and I'm British. It's a British-based drink, so you may ask, well, how's all that sort of work out? But prickly pear cactus naturally occurs in hot countries, so it's very prevalent in sort of America, Central America, but also in the Mediterranean and over sort of around the equator as well. So you would imagine a cactus, right? So imagine in your mind a bright green cactus, and that's the normal cactus that everyone thinks of, you know, like from the cartoons or from what you may have seen on TV. Now imagine, and this is the difference with the prickly pear cactus, imagine that green cactus has got things stuck to it, which are basically fruits, yeah, that are growing out of the cactus. In fact, they grow from the flowers of the cactus and they turn into fruits, like you get apples from an apple tree. So these fruits are called prickly pears, yeah. So they're called pears. So they're not pear, right? So it's not like a pear you get from a normal tree. They're called pears just because they're small fruits, okay, and they are very, very prickly, like exceedingly prickly. They're the most prickliest thing you could possibly get your hands on, and don't get your hands on them, because they have very, very fine prickles, okay, that can get into your skin and be really annoying. But what we've done with PRKL cactus water is essentially take that fruit, because that's where all the goodness is, okay? So it's often different colours, but it's anywhere between yellow and purple. And it's those different colours that give you the benefits. All right, so it's a crushed fruit that's been squeezed and concentrated into an extract that gives all those concentrated benefits. That's then brought over to the UK. We then can it in Britain with good old-fashioned British water. Yeah, in fact, Herefordshire water. We put that into a can, add a bit of lemon juice to make sure that you're growing no nasties and everything. Pasteurise it during the canning process, carbonate it to make it nice and fizzy, but a lightly sparkling fizz, and then that's what you've got in the can.
Okay, great. So finish the sentence. PRKL is for people who...
From a health and hype perspective, PRKL is looking at leveraging these health benefits of the cactus, which have been studied quite widely, right? So who does it help? Many, many people for many reasons, and these are the different ones. So primarily, it's naturally low in sugar, right? And it's got lots of different carbohydrates in there that are not your usual sort of, loads of glucose or things like that. So you've got a mixture of fruit sugars, but also complex carbohydrates that include fibre, soluble and insoluble. So where it helps people is it's helping people who want to have a healthy lifestyle, okay, where you're not looking for something that's sugary or sweetened, and you just want to reduce your calorific intake, so that you are just being healthier, in terms of what you take into your body. The other aspect is that the benefits have then been shown with people with diabetes or pre-diabetes, because it is low sugar, low glycemic index as well, it means that people can drink it sort of without guilt and without, importantly, massively affecting their sugar, their blood sugar levels and insulin levels. So you've got that aspect related to the fact that it's low in sugar. And then you've also got one of the key components is that the coloration of the prickly pear means that you've got these molecules in there that are called antioxidants. And what antioxidants do is mop up any of what are referred to as free radicals in chemistry that are produced during exercise, workouts, but even sometimes what we eat, where we live, what you're breathing in, all those type of things. So it reduces that. So that aspect really helps people who are exercising a lot for workout recovery and so forth. So I'd probably say your primary benefits of the people who it's going to help are those that want a healthy lifestyle, those that really have to look at their glucose control, and those that do a lot of active sport because it will help with recovery.
Okay, so it helps a lot of people, and the one I want to focus on is the recovery.
Absolutely.
The performance, because that's what I'm interested in.
Okay.
That's what I hope the audience is also
good
interested in. So, you mentioned a lot of words there that people, it was quite jargony, right? Free radicals and antioxidants.
Yeah, that's my science background. That's sort of the problem.
Exactly. And I don't think that's a problem. I think that actually is quite a good thing, right? Because what you're pushing is science-backed.
Yeah.
Exactly. There's evidence there to suggest actually the benefits we're listing are evidence-backed. Whereas there's a lot of other drinks, and we won't say no names, let's not get sued, that they might be pushing these health benefits, but actually, are they science-backed? Probably not. So what makes PRCK different from other maybe recovery drinks or health drinks? What makes it stand out, I guess?
Well, the question I'm going to ask you first, right, is name me a recovery drink. Name me a drink that you would have aside from water, right? Because water's water. I mean, no one's going to diss water, Water's water. Yeah. But if you said this is what I have as a recovery drink, what do you have?
Chocolate milk.
Okay.
Or maybe I'd probably have an electrolyte drink. Right.
So what? So here, this is the thing. What is meant by an electrolyte drink?
So normally, for me, it would be an effervescent tablet. You drop in water, dissolves. But I guess the ones on the shop floor, on the high street shops, are Lucozade, Gatorade. I don't really know any more than they're like the main ones.
Exactly. Well, you sort of answered the question, right? Is that what makes it different? It exists, right? Because there aren't any other recovery drinks. This is the point, and this is the problem. And whilst you mentioned, there's a lot of talk about. I'm not going to say hype. There's a lot of talk around chocolate milk, and that's fair enough. But think about if you finished a HYROX, if you finished a half marathon or a marathon or even a fast 10K, right? Are you really going to be having chocolate milk? The last thing you want in your stomach after you've, because I work out, I do fitness things. I'm a runner. I do, training, HYROX, etc. And the last thing you want when your body is just going, oh my God, what have I put myself through, is going to be some chocolate milk. Yeah. Also, are you going to reach for your back pocket and go, hang on a minute, I just need some water because I need to crush up these effervescent tablets and put them in and give it a shake, or even a powder. You need something ready to drink. So there's a whole industry around ready to drink, right? And that's where we sit. We sit in the ready to drink recovery space where you are handed something that you can actually drink and something that is going to hydrate. Also have those electrolytes. So what do we mean by electrolytes? So electrolytes are basically where it's rebalancing the fluids and the elements that you've lost. That could be ions like sodium and chlorine, but it can be minerals as well from sweat and from other things that you've done with workout. So you want to replace that. So the good thing with prickly pear cactus is that has those in there. So it has the minerals, it has vitamins naturally. That's in the plant. So it's naturally in there. So, but you've got water with it. So you've got carbonated water. So you do still have that hydration, that water intake. And it's not sitting heavily on your stomach. So it is, and we say this sometimes when we talk about it, it is water with significant benefits. You're taking that water, but there are benefits to it.
I like it. And I like that it's natural. That's the key thing that would attract me to it, because a lot of drinks are, got a lot of sweeteners and additives in there, and I'm not really a big fan. I don't know the health implications, short term or long term, of like high intake of additives or sweeteners and stuff like that. So I would definitely be attracted to a natural drink.
Well, I could tell you the pros and cons of that in terms of from a sweetened perspective, from a sugar. So pure sort of sugar, where you often see people say, oh, there's like half a bag of sugar in this, or you've got these grams in this. Sugar is going to cause your bodies to have the glucose to spike, right? That's going to cause the release of insulin. And if you keep having that sugar and the release of insulin multiple times, you get less sensitive. Yeah. So you get this desensitization to that whole process. And that's how then people can become pre-diabetic and then diabetic. So the long-term problem with sugar is that it's going to have a real problem for your blood sugar regulation that could actually turn into diabetes. So that's like a big no-no. The second thing for sweeteners and other additives in that way, in terms of, because a lot of drinks, they have extra components in like vitamins or things like that. But if you actually drank them as they came, it will taste horrible, right? Because they're actually put in as chemicals, They taste horrible. So when you've got something bad tasting, you want to try and counter that, don't you? So the drinks manufacturers, they would put in sweeteners. Yeah. So what's the problem with sweeteners? Well, sweeteners have been found, and increasing evidence is there that they can cause some problems in themselves. So that can be cardiovascular problems. So again, if you're an athlete and if you're working out a lot, you're drinking a lot or taking in a lot of sweeteners, then that can have an adverse effect on your heart and your vessels and everything that's going on in your body. So, the WHO have done a report on sweeteners and really said that artificial sweeteners shouldn't be there. Our government is looking at actually banning that in kids' drinks, because a lot of kids' drinks will have sweeteners in. Because everyone knows no sugar, but nobody's really cottoned on to the fact you shouldn't have sweeteners either. So that's why you're right to think natural, okay? And then from this product being natural, that was one of the key things when I was developing in the first place, was absolutely totally agree with you. Don't want sugar, don't want sweeteners. Wanted something else, something that was natural, that's not going to be harmful. So like I've described, what's in it is just think of it, squashed up fruit of the cactus with a little bit of lemon juice. That's it. That's all you got. There's nothing else. So yeah, that's the natural aspect.
Yeah, and for context, you said WHO, World Health Organization.
Yes.
Yeah, just for anyone who's not.
Yeah, sorry.
Not in the clued up on that. So obviously your background, biochemist, toxicology, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
What was the transition from, because are you employed now?
Yeah, so I have multiple businesses. This is one of them. So I suppose my story starts that when I was at school, I wanted to do something with science. That was something that I was good at. I did contemplate being an actual doctor, but I'd never got the grades. I was never going to be getting those grades to get into medical school at that time. But I was interested in forensic science. Right? I would see things on TV. This is pre sort of CSI, even pre-CSI. Yeah, I know. Can you believe it? I know I only look like 25, but
26, Mark.
26, yeah, nice. Thanks, Jordan. But I'm more than double that, yeah. And back in those days, there were no forensic science degrees either, right? So I wanted something that would have a bit of science and be interesting. So I did biochemistry. So I did biochemistry at Bath University. And Bath University was a great university because I was into sport, right? So very active, doing a lot of sport things, you know, football, basketball, squash, running, all these sort of things. And Bath really promoted that. But the biochemistry aspect, the course that I did meant that you would actually do industrial placements. So I actually did some time at a hospital in the NHS, and it was in a toxicology lab. And at that point, you know, I didn't really know what toxicology was. It was study of drugs and poisons, right? And one of the first things that I found out about is that they did forensic toxicology. And it's like, well, hang on, here we go. I've got my science, I've now got my forensics that I wanted in the first place. So I pursued that. So after I finished at university with my biochemistry degree, I started working in the toxicology laboratory in Birmingham, and became a senior section head of clinical and forensic toxicology, because we were helping poison patients. We're also doing things like cause of death, if people had taken drugs and died, and equally was looking at drugs abuse and so forth. So it was, you know, really interesting, but that gave me a good grounding in that aspect. I did a PhD while I was there in biochemical toxicology. So I am a doctor, but not a
proper one.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly, yeah. So I'm different as well. So it's a different sort of different aspect of doctoring, so to speak. So it's PhD. So how does this all transition into PRKL? So where the story starts for PRKL is that I'm at a gym, okay? And I'm at a gym with my daughter. She was a teenager at the time, and she's got a severe nut allergy, right? So much so that she's allergic to coconut, which isn't even a nut within the sort of the nut space. So it was a case of, fine, you know, where would you have nuts in a gym? But they were really pushing coconut water, okay? And coconut water, you know, has always sort of been there as something, as an alternative to normal sort of water, but they were putting it as default in smoothies. You know, it's been sold on the shelves, and if you didn't want that, then really you were being pushed down the sugary or sweetened drinks. So there wasn't really anything. And because I was going through my personal health things at the time as well, in terms of wanting to improve my health, being a bit more aware of what I'm taking into the bodies, I thought there's got to be something else. There's got to be something else that helps people, and is not sweet and not sugary, etc. So I thought, well, cactus. You get water from a cactus. I remember from cartoons back in the day, like Wile E. Coyote and Roadrunner cartoons, where they chop open a cactus and drink water from it. But here's a news flash for everyone listening and watching. You can't get water from a cactus. You can't just chop open a cactus and expect like a glass of water to pour out. It doesn't work. So if you're in the desert, whether you Bear Grylls or not, you're not going to be getting it from a cactus per se. However, when I searched for this and was looking into it, what came up was prickly pear cactus. And how it came up was in the scientific literature. And what that actually means is where you've got a whole load of scientific studies that are done, whereby people would do studies, whether it would be in humans, animals, or a cellular level, and then publish it. And then that's where other scientists have reviewed that data, that information, and then said, yeah, that makes sense, that's good to go, and it then gets published for the general scientific community. So that's called a peer review scientific publication. Okay, so there was a whole load of publications that were talking about prickly pear cactus, saying how great it is and everything. But when I was reading it, I thought, hang on a minute, like, no one's really exploited this, and I don't use that word lightly, in terms of making sure that why does nobody know about this, right? Why isn't this something that people can actually benefit from? Because it's helping people from diabetes, blood sugar regulation, to chronic inflammation, all these type of things, which are really important. So using my scientific training, of course, being a PhD in biochemical toxicology, I could look at these scientific papers and just immediately see if it was hype or health. And looking through it, these are proper controlled studies, and it's a case of there is really something here. So where the transition came was that I still do, even now, biochemistry, toxicology specifically for forensic purposes, and I've been doing that for 30 years as a clinical and forensic toxicologist, and I still do that. But this gave an opportunity to utilize the knowledge that I'd got to actually try and help people, try and deliver a product that could benefit millions and millions of people. So that's where the transition sort of comes. From being a scientist, I was already a business owner. I'd left the NHS to actually start my own lab to do the work that I was doing in the NHS, but more from a police perspective, so criminal forensic toxicology and post-mortem toxicology for cause of death. So I'd got a business, I know how to run a business, so this was producing and creating another business.
Cool. There's a lot there we can dive. There's a lot there we can dive into, but it's great that you've given some context and some background to your journey, I guess. And again, it just shows it's science backed. You're a PhD. You've got a PhD. You've been through the practice of reading scientific journals and papers and looking at it, and is it quite a weak study? Is there only one study, or is there quite a lot of evidence out there? And it sounds like there was quite a lot of evidence. You've got 2 nutritionists on board.
I have, yeah.
How did that come about?
Well, first of all, I mean, when you've got any company or business, it's if you're just one person, who do you bounce ideas off, and also how do you sort of ratify the sort of things that you're thinking? So very early on in the business anyway, I started to involve people that I know and trust that have got different aspects, whether it will be sort of commercial side of things, financial side of things, legal side of things. But I'm a biochemist, a toxicologist. I know about molecules, I know about biology, I know about chemistry, but I don't know how many grams of fat someone should be having, or how many grams of carbohydrate, or when you should eat, when you shouldn't eat. I mean, I do try to be very health conscious. Like I say, I'm very active, so I try to maintain a decent balance with diet, but that's just from general, what people know. But I'm not a nutritionist in any shape or form. So I felt it was important to add a nutritionist or nutrition to the team. So how it came about is that I, in very early days of the drink, took some of the product to a fitness show where there was some nutritionists talking, and there was various PTs talking. So it was an active sort of community that I wanted to hear from and know also, because this drink was for them. If you've got people involved in the fitness industry, I wanted to check, am I actually creating something that you want? Because otherwise, what's the point? So I listened to a particular nutritionist called Dan Richardson, and he gave a really good talk about how nutrition is really important, of course, but it was just the way that he came across, and I thought, okay, I think that this could be someone I could talk to, and I sort of just went up to him afterwards, after he'd literally come off the stage, and I'd got some of my drink with me with some shot glasses to give people a taster, and I just shoved it in his face and said, Dan, my name's Dr Simon Elliott, and I've got this brand new cactus health drink that is going to revolutionise the industry, and is something that I think you might be interested in as a nutritionist. And to be fair to Dan, he didn't question it. He just had a drink, you know.
Shout out to Dan, by the way.
Absolutely. So that was trust on his part already, and he really liked it. And then his next question was, what have I actually drank, you know? And I said, well, don't worry, I'm a toxicologist, so don't worry, everything's fine. But let me tell you a bit more about the drink. So that's where that sort of relationship started, in terms of chatting about it. And then, you know, that it was about saying to Dan, you know, do you want to come on board? He was working with Owen, who also obviously is background in nutrition as well, and two heads are better than one as well. So it's good to have multiple opinions. So that's how the sort of partnership came about.
Love it. That was a big thing for me. Obviously, Dan introduced us. Yeah. I can't even remember what he said now. I think it was something about getting you on the podcast, and I was like, "This is interesting," and I trust Dan, so let me see what he's suggesting. Should we try?
Absolutely. I was going to say, we've had the drink in front of us, and to be honest, I'm thirsty anyway.
It's cold as well.
I kept it cold for you, but yeah, there you go.
I have tried it before, so you're not getting a live review, but
you're not getting an unboxing.
You're not.
There you go.
There we go. There's Owen. Supplement episode coming soon.
There it is. Yeah, there you are. I feel better already. Do you feel better already?
I do like it.
You like
and
it?
If I didn't like it, I would tell you. I would be honest. But no, I can get on board with it, especially, like I said, it's something that's natural.
You see, it's a different taste. You know,
it's nothing you've had before. That's what it is.
Absolutely, and we've had it tasted by literally thousands of people right now. We've been to so many different events, from like a health and wellbeing at work event where you've got corporations and, you know, people that work within HR, etc., tasting it. So big, diverse group of people. We even sponsored it and took it to a singing event. Right? You think, well, why is it a singing event? Because one thing is with the drink is that it doesn't leave that aftertaste in your mouth, because it is natural, because you don't have that sweetened aspect, whether it's artificial or otherwise. It refreshes you and then sort of disappears, so you can then have another drink.
You want more. Whereas
imagine sat down trying to drink a cola, I'm not saying any particular type, but a cola, there's only so many you can have. And it's not just about the caffeine or the sugar content, it's just the way that it is. You can only have so many. So what we found with the taste is that a lot of people have said, first of all, it's unlike anything I've drank before, which is great, because imagine that in the drinks industry.
It's unique.
I mean, it was a surprise. Because, you know, this was a surprise. We didn't know how it was going to taste. I knew how much of the prickly pear I wanted and needed in that can to support those scientific benefits that are in the scientific literature. Essentially, what we've tried to do is use the scientific literature to say, right, if they've done these studies with X amount of prickly pear, I want that in there. Because then the chances are, then that should help the people that are drinking it, for instance. So the idea then was to, okay, this is how much I want in it. Get drinks consultants involved to take it from idea to reality. And that's what we did. And then when we had the first taste, no one had an idea of what it was going to taste like. You drink it and you go, that is different. That is different. But what it is, that is prickly pear. If you actually had a prickly pear, because we're not used to it in Britain, because we don't have it. So if you had a prickly pear now, you go, well, it tastes like prickly pear. So when we were doing the taste tests, people from all over the world were, you know, at various events, etc. They tasted it, and those who were in regions where prickly pear exists, they said, yeah, it tastes just like prickly pear. And it's like, well, that's good for a start, because we're saying it's prickly pear. That's good, but it also does show that, you know, it's different people's taste buds react differently. So yeah, it's refreshing fruit taste. I mean, obviously it's different for people who are watching and listening. They don't have a can in front of them. They can't drink it. So how would you describe how would you describe its?
It's unique. Doesn't leave the aftertaste of other drinks, and it's not like really sweet.
Yeah, that is a really important point, right? And I'll tell you why. Because again, from the taste tests, the feedback is exactly that. It's not oversweet. You've got a fruit taste, but it's not oversweetened. If anything, it's a little bit undersweetened. And the issue is that all of our palates have been pre-programmed now to want that sweetness, because the producers of whatever we take in have these extra elements in it, and we're just used to sugary things. So when people taste something that isn't artificially sweetened or has sugar in it, it's like, oh, do I like it? Do I not like it? And then your brain starts to go, yeah, actually, it's given me something different. I do like it, and you reprogram your brain.
Takes a while. So
you've been reprogrammed. I'm not going to say brainwashed. You've been reprogrammed.
Yeah. Get the drink if you want to be reprogrammed.
That's it. Absolutely.
That's actually like the perfect segue. You said, you've tested it all around the world, done a lot of market research, basically. And you did some market research recently in London, was that right?
Tell me, what event are you referring to?
It's also not an event, you did like actual market research.
You're talking about actual market research. Okay, not like an event being an event for taste tests, because we have done that in London, done that around Essex, we've been all over. Yeah. But in terms of market research, because this is a commercial product. So what you want to try and do is get marketing agencies involved, which we did. And through that, the suggestion is always, okay, which people are you going to help first? Because we're lucky is that this can help so many different people. But, that costs money. You can't just go, there you go, and help the entire world all at once. It's not really possible. So the idea behind some focus groups was to really narrow it down into sort of the 3 different types of people that we think we can help. And then present the drink to them, see what they think, present the brand to them, those type of things, and get feedback. And these are, normal people, but they are in a certain demographic. And the 3 demographics we were looking at were those that are very much in health and fitness, active, very active people who are, either gym goers, runners, that sort of thing. So that's one group. Where obviously recovery is key. The second group were healthy lifestyle people. So this could be young professionals or otherwise who just are a bit more aware about what they're taking into the body. And they know that they shouldn't be having certain foods. But then the question is, okay, I shouldn't have that, a donut or whatever. What do I have as an alternative? So it's where people, need to be aware of this as an alternative to sugary or sweetened drinks. And then the third group were those people who really have to be mindful about what they take into the bodies. So it's the pre-diabetic and diabetic people. So they were the 3 groups that we were presenting the drink to. Yeah.
Before we get into the outcome, I'm glad you stopped there. Why is, for any young entrepreneurs or older entrepreneurs out there that are maybe early on in the stage of launching a business, why is market research important, doing things like the focus groups and getting your product or service in front of people?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll be more than happy to come back on another podcast and do a whole thing about actual business, in terms of the challenges that you have as a business owner, and also how you, things that you have to think about that you wouldn't normally think about. But to answer that question specifically, if you're doing a product-based business, it's more important than anything, right? I mean, if you're doing a service-based business, then you still need to understand your client. Who is your perfect client? You need to think about what that person is looking at buying, the services they're interested in, that sort of thing. Who's the perfect client? And then try and push your efforts into servicing that perfect client. With a product, yes, there's an element of perfect client, but you've made that for a reason, right? the question then is you need to test that your thoughts and assumptions actually are real. Because, like I said, what if you create something that nobody wants? Then you might as well either give up, or really you've got to rethink the product completely. So from a business perspective, it's just really about that second check. And when you're doing the focus groups, you're completely independent. So for instance, I wasn't there, none of my team was there. So it wasn't like, oh, they're going to say nice things or nasty things or whatever because the company are there. It wasn't about that. It's complete independence, where they're told something about what the product is trying to achieve, and then taste it, etc.
Wait, if you got this far, you must be enjoying the conversation. Make sure to hit the like button and press subscribe to show your support. Back to the episode. Great. And yeah, I agree on the point of you could do a whole another podcast about business itself. But we are going to do a few touch points on general business today in between, kind of diving into PRKL. But let's get on to the outcome of that market research. It was a catalyst for something quite big and potentially an announcement coming soon.
Absolutely. It was very interesting, right? Because we've spoken already, we refer to it as PRKL, right? Now, why do we refer to it as PRKL? Originally, the concept was calling it prick, right? And you could refer to it as prick. And that comes from the fact that it's prickly pear. You can prick your finger on the cactus. You can certainly prick your finger on the fruits that it's derived from. So that's prick. However, we're in Britain. And the problem with Britain is that our minds, we've got a good sense of humour in Britain. We're very particular people. And the first thing we think about in any situation often with particular words is they go down into some sort of innuendo, right? So the average British person, you say prick to, and they don't immediately think, oh, I've pricked my finger. They go, oh, are you talking about what I think you're talking about? And you go, well, no, I'm not. But that's immediately what people think. So we knew we were being a bit playful with that, because in the modern world, you've got to have that attention grab, right? In a marketing sense, it's a case of you've got to grab someone's attention. So when we first went to market and we were doing these shows, and we had all of our branding, we had our PRKL and everything, we'd literally see people walk past and then either say to each other or look up, and they'd be going, does that say what I think it says? They haven't, have they? And they come over and they talk to us, right? But of course, we can then explain what the product is and what it does. But what grabbed their attention was the name. And, could we do that? So that's why we, sort of leaned into it and is like, okay, there we go. But there's always a downside to that, because, we want to try and have this as a drink for everybody. And we don't want it to be sort of treated like a gimmick. It's not a gimmick. This isn't a gimmicky drink. And what was coming out of the focus groups is that you get a polarization of it. There were some people that really cottoned on to what we were trying to do, in terms of a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, sort of nod and a wink, but everyone knows that this is a serious drink. But other people went, well, I can't drink that. I can't be seen to be a prick, I can't be seen to be with that. So having it, in that independent way, we just thought, okay, well, how are we going to address that? Within the three groups, we had 100% buy-in. Really resonated really with them, with the health and fitness group, 100%. But even within that group, there were some that liked the name, some that didn't like the name. In the other two groups, you had some people, and this unfortunately is where sort of general education is a problem about nutrition, is that you had some people that go, well, hang on, it's 39 calories, that's great, but I'm looking for 0 cal. All right, where's the 0 cal? And understandable, because that's the everyday person. But you only get 0 cal if you're drinking water or if you're drinking something that hasn't got any sort of natural carbohydrate in. So sweeteners, for instance, with 0 cal, but we've already discussed that they're going to be a problem for you. So in those other groups, you've got some misunderstanding where people, so it wouldn't 100% resonate with them, because they go, well, I'm going to still drink my diet whatever, so I'm not necessarily going to buy it. So we felt, okay, if we're going to look at a particular group first, we're obviously going to go for the people that really resonated with, that really want it, and that's the health and fitness industry. Well, industry, people who are involved in health and fitness. But then if they are still polarised by the name, we've already sort of shrunk our market. Are we going to shrink it even more by having a name that may be divisive? So as a company, as a group, with shareholders and investors, we got together and said, okay, what are we going to do? We had various options, which is just ignore them and just keep going, right? And that's certainly something, you know, I like to do sometimes the unexpected, or, you know, try to be a little bit different, but you've got to be, you know, you've got to be sort of genuine to what you're trying to achieve. And this was the main thing, is we do not want to distract from what we're trying to achieve, which is to improve people's health as best we can. So we decided to change the name, and that is ongoing at the moment. But just for everyone watching and listening, this is an exclusive for you, Jordan. Right? Exclusive, right? Actual exclusive, is that we are going to change the name. But this is a brand evolution. It's not a rebranding, it's a brand evolution. It's a tweak, right? So at the moment, it's PRKL, right? So we thought, well, what about shifting the name to prickle, right? I.e., it's not prick, but it's prickle, and that you know, is a completely different word for a start, and has a very different connotation. Prickle is prickle. So if anybody said prickle, you might think, oh, you got prickles or that, but it's a cactus with prickles. So it's a lot more sort of specific, and a bit better from that. And it removes any of those innuendos. There's no innuendos with prickle. So you got prickle, but it's then prickle is quite wordy. So to write prickle on the can is quite wordy. And given that we've been, you know, fairly pleased with the feedback that we've got from sort of the branding, and in terms of the, you know, the PRKL, the 4 letters type of thing, during our discussions, we decided to tweak that and then have it as PRKL. Yeah, so prickle. And you'll see from the can, I know those listening can't see this, but if people see it, there's a little white line around here. Is that little white line around the middle? Now that is meant to separate the purple and the green, and the reason why we have that coloration anyway is that the green is the main cactus paddle, and the purple represents the fruit that's on it. So there's a reason why it's purple and green, but to separate it, because again it looks aesthetically better to have a separation, we put like this white line in. Now if you arrange PRKL along that white line, then it will have that I, so to speak, in it. So you get PRKL, prickle. So that's it. We have pivoted a little bit. We've moved a little bit into the world of something that's maybe a little bit less polarizing. So yeah, prickle. There you are. That's your exclusive.
I like that name.
You like that?
I like it. And at the same time, I like PRKL. Prickle's easier to say.
Yeah. And we can actually say it. Yeah. So we'll go, are you drinking prickle? Right? Because one of the guys in the business, when we were first talking about, you know, PRKL, prick, etc., he said, how am I going to order that in a bar? You know, like, what am I going to say? It's like, well, you know, you could say this or could say that, but it's a lot, you know, you can say, I'll have a prickle, please.
Yeah, I can get used to that. Can we talk about HYROX?
Yeah.
We can.
Well, of course.
So you was almost the hydration partner for...
Yeah, the national hydration partner, so HYROX UK.
Yeah, how did that come about?
That came about by me pestering HYROX, right? In that I'm very aware of HYROX, really impressed by the concept and improving and encouraging people to be healthier. I mean, it's amazing. I'm in my early 50s now. If that had been around when I was in my 20s, I mean, oh my God.
No, you can still do it now.
I can, and I do.
Okay, yeah, Brill. I thought you was gonna say, "Oh no, I can't do it."
No. What I mean is that when we were in our 20s, back in the day. So I'm talking like in the 90s and everything. All we'd have on offer was traditional sports, right? Which is fine, and played all of them: football, cricket, basketball, squash, everything like that. But to have some sort of mixed fitness type of thing would have been great, especially with competition, especially, where you try and beat your time. So anyway, so I was aware of HYROX, and I thought HYROX is really an up-and-coming sport and very popular. And I thought, when you finish the HYROX, when you've really made that effort, the last thing you want to be handed is a caffeinated drink, right? It's the last thing you want. Not just from a body intake, but the fact that you've already done it. Caffeine is there for pre-workout. Yeah. It's not meant to be afterwards. You're just going to create a problem. So it was like, well, this makes sense to offer it to people. So I just emailed them, right? Now, at that time, so we're talking January of this year, January 2025. Because they've grown so quickly in a very short space of time. January of 2025, the only way of really contacting them was an inquiries box on their website, right? That was it. So I just messaged and said, I think you might be interested in us as a drink. We're an upcoming brand. We're looking at hydration and recovery. I think it's perfect for HYROX. Didn't hear anything. So I emailed them again. I sent it again. And then I found the press email address, emailed that as well. Didn't get anything. And then I do one last sort of email saying, right, I appreciate a lot going on. You may not have seen it. And then out of the blue, I get an email from the head of European sponsorship for HYROX. And he says, let's have a chat. Let's have a chat. So we have a call. We have a really positive call, and because I'm already sort of a HYROX fan anyway, that's it's good. But equally, they were looking for a national hydration partner at the time. We're talking to various people, but we're looking for that, and sent us some sponsorship deals, those sort of things. And on the back of that, it was like, okay, I know where I need to get, so I'll go out and raise investment. To raise some money to be able to do that. So in between doing that, HYROX just exploded massively. And I think the downside of that, certainly from our side, is that as a new brand, it's really difficult for us to compete on the same level with some of the other brands. And equally, I think, if I was talking to HYROX now, whilst I'm still waiting for that letter of intent, HYROX, while I was, if I spoke to them now, the value, the money that would be required for that sort of partnership would be well beyond normal reach. But certainly the intent in some shape or form to work with HYROX would be really, really good, because it really should help. And even if it's not HYROX themselves, just people involved in HYROX, and not just HYROX, CrossFit, Deckers, anything like that, where you're pushing the body to the extreme, right? And I've done it just in normal training, and it's like, you need something that's going to really give you that recovery to go again, because you don't just stop and go, that's it. You go again, and you need it to go again. You need it to suppress maybe some of the muscle fatigue you're going to get, to help your body just feel better afterwards. So I'm hopeful that we might be able to progress that as things go.
Love that. And one of the key things are the perseverance to keep messaging them after hearing nothing. Like, how important is that, again, if we look at entrepreneurs on their journey, how important is that for them to just persevere when they're trying to contact someone or build relationships or get a contract or deal? Like,
well, it's easy to say, right, but difficult to do. Very easy to say, just keep going, right? And when you're in that mind of, yeah, but either I'm getting a knockback or I'm not getting anything at all, is it shouting into the wind? Is it knocking at a brick wall? You know, all these sort of cliches. But what I'd say is this, is what have you got to lose? You got nothing to lose, right? Because currently, I'm not a sponsor of HYROX, right? Or I wasn't a sponsor of HYROX. So if I email and they say no, I'm no further backwards. But what if they say yes? And like that, what if they actually express an interest? Then you can start a conversation. So it is very much that, is that if you don't keep going, you know further forward, but you also know further back, because you were just exactly where you were.
You could also argue that you are further forward, because if you're looking for a sponsorship deal, well, HYROX say no, right now, can cross them off. I can now go and ask someone else. So it's like you have kind of made some progress there, because although they've said no, you've identified, that's not a door I can go through, let's try the next door. And also, again, you said, what if they say yes? And I think sometimes we think quite negatively and go, oh, what if the worst happens? What if they say no? But actually, to start thinking, well, what if they say yeah? What if it does work out?
Absolutely, because your mindset has got to be there, right? Because quite often people have a fear of success, right? Think about that. Because sometimes people sort of go, in their mind, they'll never say it, but in their mind they're going, what if they do actually say yes? Like, how am I actually going to deliver that, right? You'll find a way. That's the answer. You will find a way how to deliver it. As scary as it could be, you find a way. So sometimes people go, oh yeah, I did phone them up, but no one answered. And it's like, yeah, did you leave a message? No, because no one's gonna listen to a voicemail or anything. But then, it's sort of like, I'm sort of glad they didn't, because I'm not quite sure what would happen if they did say yes. You've got to remove that fear and know that if they were to say yes, if you were to progress with things, then you will find a way. And if you can't find a way, you'll know someone who can, and you can talk to them and they can help you. You don't have to be alone. You can get support.
That's so interesting. They're like scared to succeed. Like they've got this identity maybe of, I don't know, low confidence, they don't believe in themselves, or identity of failure, and actually what if it goes right, and then this, that's really interesting. And I'm tempted to dive down that rabbit hole, but I'm not gonna because I want to stay on track. So we've got a rebrand, not a rebrand, it's a brand evolution.
Brand evolution, yeah.
Brand evolution, I'll cut that bit out. And you're going to be, and I don't know if we can talk about this, you're going to be in a couple of magazines.
Yes.
In December.
Yeah, around Christmas and New Year. Yeah.
Okay, tell me a little bit about that, and how big is that for you, or the brand Prickle?
Yeah, so the magazines in question are around the men's and women's health, right? So I'm assuming you're aware of those sort of magazines. I mean, we see them in the shops, in the stores, but equally nowadays there's a lot of digital distribution of magazines. So on Apple News and so forth, or various subscriptions, you can get as part of packages you're getting. So you're having that digital presence as well. So it's big for us because men's health and women's health in particular is where this is sitting, right? I mean, that's where we're all in. We're all in on trying to improve people's health and fitness with, active, proper sort of benefits that are going to help certain people. So therefore we do, really want the men's and women's health advert is going to push us further forward with getting that message across.
And then how big is it for the brand or yourself as a kind of milestone?
Well, it's a significant milestone in as much as it's where you are in amongst other well-known brands, right? Now, what we're doing is an advertorial, right? Now, that's interesting in itself, rather than just having like a, oh yeah, here's just an advert where you see logo and everything. An advertorial is where you're actually talking around the topic, and you're going, well, actually, we've got something here that's related to it. So, talking around the prickly pear cactus, etc., and the benefits of prickly pear cactus is the main focus, because again, it's about awareness. It's about making people aware, because nobody's necessarily aware of this, and getting that groundswell of awareness to those benefits.
And the advertorial is probably more powerful than an advert, because an advert, you typically see it as, oh, it's been paid for, it's being pushed towards me, they're trying to sell me something, whereas the advertorial might look a bit like, oh, we're being educated on this drink and the benefits, and as you said, you're sitting amongst other big brands. So what is next after the brand evolution? Okay. Looking into maybe next year.
Well, what part of the reason of the good timing of the health and fitness magazines is around Christmas, New Year. Obviously, people in general are looking to improve their health, etc. But we're also going to be present at the National Running Show, okay, which is the end of January, beginning of February. And the National Running Show is a massive show that has grown. I've been there since the beginning. It's based in Birmingham, so it's local to me, but I've been to all of them since the beginning, and it's grown so big that you've got the top brands there, but also just the runners that go, the people that go, because it's not just about running, it's fitness as well, to an extent that we've seen people go there, and to have us there present to talk to people who really need that. Because as a runner myself, when I'm finishing a half marathon or marathon or whatever, like I said already on this podcast, you don't want to be having what seems to be handed out at these events, which are either caffeinated energy drinks or highly sugared or highly sweetened products. I don't want that. Okay, I want water, but then you do need to try and replace. So there isn't anything. So as a runner, there is nothing there for me. So the intention is to really go there and say, right, this is something new. This is something that will actually help you. And I know that as a runner as well, So it's massive for us, because there's big names. So at the National Running Show, the headliners include Keely Hodgkinson, British medalist, etc. Carl Lewis as well, former gold medalist for USA, and over the years I've had lots of famous athletes. So it's about having that awareness. So it's a big sort of milestone for us. So what we're looking to do on the back of the brand evolution is to obviously to be there, to be able to push ourselves as an evolved brand, and then have that awareness with a whole load of new people. So they can start to engage with us on our social media, where we don't just have adverts. It's about also elements of education, showing people where the benefits come from, and also having a bit of fun along the way as well. It's not just about throwing science in there. You've got to have a little bit of fun, and that's what we're looking to use. So this December, January, February period is a massive launch pad for us as a brand.
Okay, so it sounds exciting.
Yeah,
and it is
exciting.
Having fun along the way, I like that. We're going to start to wrap up now. A couple more questions before I finish, though. Yeah. And you've probably got a million lessons and takeaways from your time building businesses and building this brand. But if you could share one lesson to someone who's in the early stages of building their own brand or launching their own products, what would it be?
Listen.
Right?
Listen. Now, you need to listen to yourself, right? You've got to, first of all, listen. Maybe it's a cliche, but you've got to listen to your inner voice and listen to what you actually know and what you actually believe, right? Because if you don't believe it, then no one else will. So you've got to listen to yourself and go, do you truly believe this, right? So me, when I first was thinking about this, is like, can I hand on heart truly get behind this and really believe it? And that was like a nanosecond of listening to myself of, yeah, absolutely, because I know it can help people and it can have real benefits. I know that the science is solid, so I can go, yeah, I can get behind this. But it's not just about the sort of the branding and things like that. It is more from a business perspective about being true to yourself, listening and going, right, is this something I can really get behind? Because you're going to need every ounce of that belief when these barriers come up, right? Because the minute you hit a barrier and you don't believe already, it's like, oh, well, I'll just turn around and go back then, shall I? It's like, I'll get my coat, that sort of thing. You're going to need every ounce of that belief, and it will get chipped away, but you've got to be able to rebuild it as well and find a way to rebuild it. So listen to yourself. And then a second listen is to listen to others, obviously, but listen to the right voices, right? Surround yourself by the right voices, people that you can trust, people that either A, aren't just saying it because, of whatever, because they just want to be nice, yeah? Or they're not just being nasty because they want to be nasty. It's literally, trusted professionals, people who know what they're doing. Listen to them, take advice. Now, you don't always have to agree. You don't always have to do what they say, but listen, right? And that's what we've tried to do from a marketing perspective, from a consumer perspective, and from a nutritional perspective. And just listen to what people advise, because they're coming from their perspective, and that should be respected.
Fantastic. Who's one person you'd recommend that I have on the podcast?
I know you're talking about men within a certain age and everything, but I think Keely Hodgkinson, as an athlete, as a medalist, is a really good role model for younger sports people, whether it's man or woman, doesn't matter, because she is very young, but has achieved so much in a short space of time, and has done it clearly from listening to a coach and from doing the right things at the right time, because her rise has been pretty meteoric. And I said, don't get an A-lister on, but she is pretty much an A-lister now. But I think someone who has achieved that at a young age has to have dedication, has to have the right mindset, has to be able to listen to what people are saying, because they've not always had enough years of experience themselves, so they therefore need to listen. So that would be my answer.
Where can people, one, follow the journey of Prickle?
Prickle, yeah, there we go. You've managed it, yeah.
And where can they purchase the cans? Where can they try the drinks?
Absolutely. Okay, so where are we? So first and foremost, we are online, like everybody's nowadays. Our first cans were produced and launched in March of this year, so about 8 months ago now. So we are on our own website. So we've got our own website, which is prkkdrink.com. Now, of course, for obvious reasons, that's going to change a little bit, but we'll make sure that people can find it through that same route anyway. We'll just forward you on. But prkkdrink.com is our website. That has about the story of PRKL, but also the science, right? So it's got elements and aspects of the science that tell all about the different benefits and how it can help. But importantly, that's where you can buy it as well. People listening, people watching may start to see it pop up at their independent gym if they go there. But predominantly it's online. We also have social media. So we've got a quite an active Instagram account, which again is PRKL Drink. Again, that's going to change, but don't worry, everyone's going to be moved over appropriately. So PRKL Drink for Instagram means that you've got all the access there, link in bio, as we say, to be able to purchase it online, no problem at all. And obviously, you talked about milestones, watershed. Our aim for 2026, of course, is to get into a national retailer. to make sure that as many people as possible will be able to access it.
I think you can do it.
You think?
I think you can do it.
Where's the no? Come on, Jordan. I know you can do it. It's not good enough. Yeah, that's right. No, I know we can do it.
Yeah, I like that attitude. And again, it just shows you believe in what you're doing.
You've got to believe, right? You got to believe, otherwise you just give up. But I just feel so strongly that people need to have that alternative option, right? And we are that option.
Great place to finish. I'll make sure all the links in the description below, PRKL and Prickle when it's updated, so people can find it nice and easily.
Absolutely.
From the episode, just a big thank you from me for giving me your time today, and previous meetings we've had. Really appreciate your time, bringing me the drink. I've had quite a few now, thanks to yourself and Owen. So the privileges of being a podcast host, free drinks, exclusives. Just want to say thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. And neither of us have touched our water.
Well,
all we've been drinking is
that just shows.
That's it. That's it.
That just shows. But yeah, thank you.
There we go. No, thank you very much.